The sound is silence. A room holds its breath. Sometimes it is a bed in a hospital, other times a familiar home. The body, our steadfast companion, comes to rest. The heart, that faithful drum, offers its final beat. The breath, which has flowed in and out our entire lives without our command, makes its last return to the world. But in this ultimate stillness, something is moving. A process is unfolding, profound and invisible to the eye that sees only form. The soul, that light of awareness that lived within the vessel, begins to release its mooring. This is not an abrupt snap like breaking a cord. It is a slow, sacred untying. Imagine a knot woven from decades of a life lived. Every joy, every memory, every choice a single thread. Now it is gently being undone. Those who have journeyed to the edge of that final door and returned, they tell us of this. They speak of a sudden lightness, of a peace that blossoms unexpectedly, of seeing their own body from above, as if floating in the quiet air of the room. Consciousness is awake, aware, but it is no longer looking through the same windows. The separation is an energetic letting go. In the ancient traditions I walk with, it is said that a final thread connects our physical self to our spiritual self, the river of our life to the great ocean. This thread becomes thin until it dissolves, marking the final release from the world of form. But not every soul unties this knot with ease. For a life of sudden ending, a life bound tightly to the earth of possessions, the letting go can be a storm of confusion, a shock. The soul tries to remain. It does not understand why its voice is no longer heard. It is like awakening from a powerful dream, only to find the landscape has vanished. From the perspective of the heart, the change is immense. Imagine spending a whole life believing the story ends with the last page. Then, you find yourself floating above the book, watching others weep, feeling the vibration of their sorrow. It is the start of a new chapter, yet you have no map, no compass. For a soul that has prepared, that has practiced the art of letting go in life, this moment is an arrival. It understands. It senses the presence of guides, of beings of light, of friends who have crossed the river before them. There is a quiet welcome, a hand reaching from the other shore. It all begins with a final breath. But the end, it is never the end. It is simply a new beginning. The soul is free, but it carries with it the fragrance of all its days. It leaves the body behind, but it does not arrive empty. What follows is what we will explore now. Imagine waking in a place you know, yet all feels unknown. The colors are singing a different song. Sounds seem to come from inside and outside at once. The people you love move as if you are made of air. You speak, but the words dissolve. You reach out, but your hand passes through them. You are present, but unseen. For many souls, this is the beginning of the awakening on the subtle plane. After detaching from the vessel of the body, consciousness does not sleep. It is often more awake than ever before. The struggle is, the soul does not always know it has set the body down, and this brings a profound fog of confusion. It feels different, but it cannot name the change. The disorientation comes because the soul still wears the habits of its physical life. It remembers its own name, its own fears, its own history, so it tries to continue the old dance. It goes home. It tries to speak to its children, to complete its work. But the world no longer answers its touch. This creates a deep feeling of being adrift. Some souls may wander for what we call days or weeks, especially when the departure was sudden. An accident, a sudden closing of the heart. The shock is a tremor that takes time to settle. It is like waking from a long stillness with no one to tell you where you are. The ancient paths of wisdom teach us that this time is a crossroad. If the soul is deeply tethered to the material world, to old pains, it may linger in what some call the space between worlds. A place where human emotions still feel heavy, but there is no body to express them. What lights the way here are the connections made during life. If a soul has cultivated a life of awareness, of heart, of simple kindness, it is often met swiftly. Guides appear. Friends of light draw near. But if the soul lived in disconnection, the journey may feel solitary for a time. Yet, it is never abandoned. It simply takes longer to hear the whisper of guidance. It is often told that in their final days, those near the threshold of leaving see loved ones who have already passed. This is not the mind playing tricks. These are the first encounters with the other side, a gentle pre-awakening, a feeling of being called home. It is also common for the soul, in the first hours, to follow what is happening to the body it left behind. It watches the motion of healers, the tears of family, the gathering of friends. All this adds to its confusion. The soul sees and feels all, but is no longer part of the play. And this shift in reality can be the hardest path to walk. The clock of the world keeps turning. But on the other side, time itself is a flowing river, for not a ticking machine. For many streams of wisdom, the first 7 days form a sacred passage, an energetic doorway where the soul remains very close to the world of form. After the initial shock of seeing itself outside its physical vessel, the soul seeks what is familiar. It may choose to stay near, a silent observer in the hospital room, or it may follow its family, a quiet presence in the car, at the funeral. There is no hurry now, but an inner urgency remains, a need to understand, a desire to ensure those left behind are at peace. In this cycle, the human ritual of farewell holds a deep power. For the living, it is a space to release, to share, to comfort. For the soul, it is a final front row seat to see the ripples it made in the world. Every tear of gratitude, every story shared, shapes its understanding of the life it lived. It is not a fable that those who are sensitive may feel a subtle shift in the air, a cool whisper, a gentle presence among the flowers. These are the signs of the soul finding its way. It senses the smells, hears the words. This all helps to weave the truth. Its earthly chapter is complete, a vital step for moving on. During these 7 days, the soul's own song still vibrates very near to the key of matter. This is why the emotions of the living are like winds. They can gently guide it toward the light, or hold it in a storm of sorrow. Cries of despair, words of "I cannot live without you," these create energetic tethers. They bind and confuse. Sincere prayer, loving remembrance, serene acceptance, these are like lanterns in the dark. They light the path forward. Many cultures honor this 7th day. They believe it marks a magnetic closing. The final energetic threads tying the soul to its former home begin to dissolve. If the soul has found acceptance, if it has felt the love, a portal may open. Some call it a tunnel of light. Some a silver bridge, an invitation to step forward. But this process is not mechanical. Some spirits pass through in hours. Others, bound by attachment, may linger for much longer. The number 7 is less a deadline and more an ancient symbol. It speaks of a full cycle, like the phases of the moon. Once this cycle is complete, the soul can begin to drift away from the dense currents of the earth toward more subtle waters. Knowing this transforms grief into a sacred practice. It turns pain into gratitude. It reminds us that our love is a tangible force, a light for those on their journey. For all of us, reflecting on our own final chapter, this knowledge inspires us to live with open hands, to build bridges, not walls, so that our own transition may one day be a gentle one. After this first passage of 7 days, a quieter, but even more profound stage begins the 40 days of farewell. During this time, the soul truly begins to loosen its worldly tethers and enters a deep review, a time of healing and release. The number 40 is an echo in many traditions. In some stories, a great teacher remained for 40 days after his return, before his final ascent. In Tibetan wisdom, the bardo, the space between one life and the next, can span this period. The number 40 carries a universal music of transformation. During this time, the soul is like a reader opening a familiar book, the book of its own life. The goal is not judgment from outside. It is an internal review. The soul relives its choices. But with a critical difference, it now feels what it caused in others. If it caused hurt, it now feels that hurt as its own. If it gave love, it now feels the warmth of that love received. This is one of the most powerful teachings of the other side, to truly understand the echo of our actions. At this stage, beings of light, which some call spiritual mentors, often appear. They are not there to accuse, but to help. They illuminate why certain suffering happened. They help the soul to learn. The past cannot be changed, but wisdom can be harvested from it. And that wisdom is the key to releasing the heavy stones of guilt, of resentment, of attachment. During these 40 days, the threads to the material world, to home, to career, to people, begin to soften. This is not forgetting. It is seeing those bonds in their purest light, free from the ego's small quarrels. But to move on, one must let go. Many spirits feel the weight of their loved ones' inconsolable grief. This love, beautiful as it is, can feel like an anchor when the soul needs to sail. This is also when dreams of the departed become most vivid. The soul may draw near to offer a final message, a last embrace. The dream feels utterly real because in a way, it is a real meeting. It is a closing of chapters. At the end of these 40 days, a final energetic release occurs. The soul is lighter, more aware. It is ready to step into subtler realms. It says its goodbyes, but it carries with it the true bonds, the love that does not need a body to exist. For those on earth, this can be felt. A sudden sense of peace, a feeling that their loved one is finally okay. A sign, a fragrance, a song, a butterfly that marks the true beginning of their departure. One of the deepest realizations is that the connection does not end with the last breath. It remains active. In the first few months, the emotions of the living are like strong echoes on the spiritual path of the soul. Think of it like this: when we are alive and close to someone, we can feel their unrest without a word. Imagine that same connection, but with no filter. Emotions become pure energetic waves. Grief is natural. Pain, tears, longing, these are the heart's response to absence. The difficulty begins when love becomes desperate attachment. When the one left behind insists in their heart on holding the departed to their pain. Phrases like, "Why did you leave me?" act like chains. The soul feels this pull, and out of love, it may turn back. It may linger, trying to bring comfort. In doing so, it stalls its own journey. There are stories of spirits who remain bound for years, not from malice, but from a feeling of responsibility. The soul cannot ascend, and the living cannot heal. This is not about forgetting. It is about honoring the life lived, without tying the memory to sorrow. True love never ends. It simply changes its form. When the soul feels that freedom to continue, it can then visit, inspire, and bring peace, because there is finally space for it to do so. There comes a time when the soul stands before a choice, or rather, an irresistible pull. This is the moment when spiritual gateways open. But where do they lead? The destination is not a physical place on a map. It is a vibrational state, a reflection of the inner world the soul cultivated during life. These portals are passages of frequency. Some souls are guided through by helping spirits. Others feel it as an inner light, a call to move forward. Some, however, remain stuck, unable to see a path, held back by the weight of unresolved feelings. These gateways can lead to many different landscapes of consciousness. Some spiritual teachings describe organized centers of rest and learning. Think of them as monasteries for the soul, gardens of healing and study where spirits go through phases of recovery and preparation. These are places of high vibration for souls who, despite their flaws, lived with an honest heart and a desire to grow. In these gardens, the soul is welcomed, cared for, and reconnected to its deepest self. Beyond these gardens lie what some call the astral planes. They are not solid levels, but layers of vibration. The lighter the soul's song, the more luminous the realm. In these places, time flows like water, thought shapes reality, and experiences are deeply symbolic. In denser planes, there are zones of confusion and shadow. It is not punishment. It is a direct reflection of a mind still caught in storm. Not every soul goes directly to a place of rest. Many pass through transition zones, like a hospital's receiving room, where they are met by guides and prepared for their next step. It is here that many are reunited with family or guides who walked with them unseen through life. Does the soul choose its destination? Yes and no. It does not choose from a list. It is drawn by its own current. A soul with greater awareness, however, has more clarity. It sees the gateways opening. It recognizes the paths. This clarity allows for a more conscious choice, a freer journey. After passing through these gateways, the soul enters a new stage, spiritual treatment and re-education. It is here that the true healing begins. The soul, even free of the body, can carry wounds, old traumas, deep regrets. Death does not erase consciousness, it continues. One of the first experiences is a welcome into spaces of deep energetic healing. These are described as quiet rooms of light, where skilled beings work with pure compassion. Some souls sleep for what seems like months, a deep, restorative rest to recalibrate their energy. It is like a diver slowly returning to the surface. Others undergo active healing, bathed in subtle vibrations or speaking with mentors. The goal is always the same: to restore the being's inner harmony. After this rest, the soul is invited to learn. Not cold, theoretical knowledge, but living wisdom. There are schools in these subtle realms. The soul revisits past moments, but now with a mentor's clarity. It learns about the universal laws of cause and effect, of love, of resonance. Most of all, it begins to remember who it is, beyond name or form. It finds itself as pure essence. That remembrance is itself a profound healing. As it grows stronger, the soul prepares for its next step. This does not always mean returning to earth. Some choose to stay in these realms, helping other souls in transition. They become guides and helpers. Others, seeing what they still need to learn, decide to return to the world of form for a new life. This is a conscious choice, carefully planned with guides. Every detail of the future life is woven with purpose: the family, the challenges, the gifts. We can speak more of this path in another moment, but a question arises: can the soul visit Earth? Yes, and it happens more than we think. These are not full returns, but spiritual visits. Moments when a disincarnated soul temporarily comes back to observe, to comfort, or simply to be near. These visits can be so subtle they are missed. Others are so clear they leave no doubt. One of the most common ways is through dreams. Not ordinary dreams, but vivid, real encounters. The soul of the living meets the soul of the departed in the open space of the dream world. We exchange glances, hugs, unspoken words. We wake with a lighter heart, feeling a sense of completion. Other times, the presence is a trace left in our waking world, a familiar scent with no source, a meaningful song playing at the perfect moment, an object falling without cause. These are soft whispers, signs of nearness, often when the soul senses we need strength. Its presence alone is a comfort. In rarer cases, for those with a natural sensitivity, the soul might appear as a shimmer of light, a silhouette, a soft voice. Sometimes, a soul acting as a guide can intervene directly, averting an accident, inspiring a decision, nudging us onto a better path. We feel it as a sudden intuition, a feeling of being guided by an unseen hand. How can we be more open to these connections? By keeping the heart peaceful. Sincere prayer helps. Remembering with joy, not just sorrow. But most importantly, do not demand it. The soul visits when the time is right, when it will not harm its journey or our own. Letting go is a key, love without holding on. It is beautiful how, after someone leaves, our own eyes often open wider. We feel more. We understand that what truly matters is unseen, only felt. And the energy we live in builds a bridge between worlds. The cleaner our inner space, the stronger that bridge becomes. If you feel this call to tune your own frequency, I invite you to a practice of consciousness. 21 days of cultivating a mind of gratitude, of aligning with your deeper self. Many who have walked this path report that their lives begin to change. Access is in the first comment. Throughout this first year, there are vibrational doorways. The 7th day, the 40th day, the first anniversary of departure is seen as a full closing of a cycle, a spiritual harvest. By this time, most souls are settled in their new state, engaged in new learning, or preparing for a new journey. For those on earth, the 1-year mark can be a celebration of life's continuity. A moment to look inward and know that everything is part of a great and sacred cycle.